into the UK under. Obviously, the immigration system has changed significantly for the last 20, 30 years. And so an individual's right or eligibility to indefinite leave to remain can change.
So are there examples of people being taken on this plane who have applied for and gone through the process and achieved British citizenship in whatever guise, whatever form?
Not that I'm aware of, but that doesn't mean that those cases don't exist.
Okay, so if it turns out to be the case, and it has to be an if, that none of these people have gone through the scheme of applying for indefinite leave to remain and then gaining British citizenship, or are eligible for citizenship through the Windrush scheme by the fact they haven't applied for it or whatever it might be, by living in this country for a number of years, sometimes sometimes many decades, what qualifies them to be British?
I think it goes back to the question that you were asking, really, about what, how people define being British.
But I'm not sure you can self-define Britishness, can you?
No, well, not. I mean, there are lots of individuals, and migrants included, who can have things like dual nationality or who've lived in the UK for significant periods of time, not necessarily because of one reason or another. A lot of it could be high Home Office application fees, not applied for either indefinite leave to remain or British citizenship, or simply don't have the access to the information that allow them to make those applications or to know what their rights are.
Totally agree, and there are people who will not be able to, who've been stopped from applying for those schemes because of the cost of them, and that needs to be looked at, because I think it's about 1,300 quid, isn't it, for some cases?
Yes, for children.
But that, unfortunately, rightly or wrongly, that doesn't mean that these people can self-define as British and have all the rights conferred upon them that someone who has gone through the scheme and paid that money has.
Yeah, and I accept that, and I don't think lawyers working on this case are saying that every single individual deserves or should remain in the UK. I'm obviously not speaking for them, but I think that is a point that is worth making. But the other point is that these are individuals who, yes, have committed serious offences, but have served their time in prison, and this is like and are now facing almost a second punishment of having to leave their established life and their family in this country without an opportunity to return, and it's that expectation as to whether their families should then be expected to uproot themselves from a country that they know and love to move back to a country that they don't know at all.
I mean, the blunt answer to that is, well, if you know that deportation is a risk to you and your family, don't commit a very serious crime.
Yes, I mean, I think what we don't know are the circumstances surrounding these convictions and these offences. There are in the stories and individuals who have been detained and may well have been on plane, issues with things like grooming. There's aspects of modern slavery there. So the fact is that we don't know the stories of these individuals. They're being treated as statistics, as a collective, and that's one of the issues that we have with the deportation process as it is, that it seems to be lacking in humanity and an assessment of not just their lives, because I appreciate they have given up certain points by committing those crimes, but it's also their family network as well, and the people who are affected by this kind of procedure. So
and this is probably unfair, because there's a lot of questions that need to be answered as part of this, but the person who was convicted for rape and given an 11-year sentence, who is a foreign national who was put on this plane back to Jamaica, do you think that there could be some examples of or some details about that particular case or that particular person that would mean that deportation was unfair?
You're asking a lawyer to comment on a case that she doesn't know.
I know it's hard, but basically it comes to the principle of, do you believe that deportation can and should be a last resort for any government, not just ours?
I think I believe that deportation shouldn't be automatic, and that just because somebody it's always treated as a tick box exercise, and that there has to be a full assessment of not only the circumstances leading up to the offence, but also the implications of them being deported.
But what about the implications of the person that they have harmed?
Yes, and that would also be a part of the assessment, because actually in deportation cases it is about whether or not the individual is a threat to public good. That is one of the factors that will need to be considered, and obviously will carry significant weight as well.
Marlene, really great to talk to you. Thank you for your time. Marlene Skandersan Murugarazan, who is head of human rights at the law firm Laura Devine Immigration. 0345 60 60973. Should the remaining 25 people who've just been bunged on this flight anyway, given that the Court of Appeal said that they shouldn't be because they didn't have access to the proper phone that could allow them to have the legal advice necessary, and if this scheme is going to be supported, this deportation scheme, does it not need to be a lot more transparent? Do we not need to know the people who are on the plane who are being deported? Or is the response to it from people saying this is a disgrace, this is an outrage, this is a real, blight on this country's copybook? Is that the kind of attitude that you think displays too much tolerance, that it's just too welcoming? We don't need to be that welcoming. People can come here, they can build their lives here, but they need to do it without committing a serious offence. And if you've been convicted of rape and you've served 11 years and you happen to be a foreign national, regardless of how long you've spent in this country, if you don't have the right paperwork, you got to go. Your calls in a moment. Tom Swarbrick on LBC 1117.
This is LBC.
I am a force for good.
I am a force for courage.
And for calm.
I am a force for safety.
For fairness.
For leadership.
I am a force for the future.
For compassion.
For my community. I am a police officer.
And I am a force for all.
Be one of the 20,000 new police officers and be a force for all that you believe in. Search Join the Police.
What matters most to you? Saving money or helping the environment? With Evergreen Power, you can do both. Insulating your home with soft spray foam insulation will keep the heat in your home this winter like never before with its air barrier seal, reducing airborne